Bechoros Daf Lamed Aleph. If a person refuses the minhagi chaverus, he doesn't want to keep the tahara, and he doesn't want to do the avodos of the kohanim and the levim, so he doesn't get the matan skuna. And later on in life, he regrets it. He wants to go back. Rameir says we never take him back. And Rabbi Yehuda says, according to the first lashon, depends. If he took it back in privacy, then we don't take him back. But if he took it back in public, then we take him back. Another lashon is that if he was over on these things in public, so there's a great chilul Hashem, we can't take him back. But if he was only over b'tzina in privacy, then we can take him back. Reb Shimon and Reb Shua ben Karcha say, regardless of what happened, we always take somebody's tshuva back, because it says in the pasuk shuvu banim shevim, we could always put him back in the club. And Reb Yochanan, in fact, paskin like Reb Shimon and Reb Shua ben Karcha. The Gemara says a story. The Rabbi and Reb Yosef, they had a lot of questions and they wanted to anoint Rav Huna bar Chia. So they went on a mission to convince Rav Huna bar Chia, and they brought with them 400 peers of Talmidim, 800 Talmidim. When Rav Huna bar Chia heard that they're coming, so he made for them 400 couches, that each couch seated 2 Talmidim. But on the way, they found out that Rav Huna bar Chia accepted upon himself to be a gabbai for the taxes, to collect taxes for the king. So they stopped their journey. Rav Huna bar Chia found out about it, and he said, wait a minute, I took it back. I was chayzer. Says the Gemara, Rav Yosef didn't continue on the journey because he held that anytime a chaver becomes a gabbai for the king, then he is no longer a chaver. Rabba continued with the journey because the Brisa says that chazru b'hem, that the chachamim took it back, and they paskin that once a person takes it back, if a person has charata, then he becomes like anybody else, and Rav Huna bar Chia can be the Rav, and we can ask him questions. We know the halacha is, if there's a bezdin to see miyun or chalitza, one of the dayanim is allowed to marry the girl. And we don't say that the reason why he paskined that the chalitza is good or the miyun is good is because he wanted to marry her, because how would he convince his friends? Yet, when it comes to Bechar, if there's a bezdin of 3, you could trust one of them, because how would he convince his friends to go along with him? But a yachid mumcha, a person that himself is paskening on this, he can't paskin on his own bechar. But a person that is a yachid mumcha could paskin on his own nidarim. A person is believed to say that his own shlamim carbon has a mum because he has a way out of it. He could have told the chacham he regretted the whole shlamim, and the chacham would have let him take it back. A person allowed to say a meiser behema that his meiser behema has a mum because he has a way out of it. He could have made all his animals in the flock with mumim. And a person is believed on his own taharos because at a time that he is tameh, he could eat his taharos anyways that are apostle. So therefore we believe him now. And with that we finish the perek at Kami Yisrael Chayavim, and we're starting the 5th perek in Bechoros, perek called Psuli HaMikdashim. Psuli HaMikdashim is when if somebody designates an animal as a carbon and that animal gets a mum, you can't bring it as a carbon, so you redeem it. You redeem it to the point that it becomes his completely. He could sell it in the marketplace, says the Mishnah. We're not worried about the covet of a carbon because it's no longer carbon. You could sell it and you could weigh it with a weight. It's not a bezayin for the animal. Now, the Gemara explains that we're not talking about that he shechted this carbon before he redeemed it. Because there's a halacha, according to one man that you need ha'amada and haracha, the animal has to stand up on all 4. Once it's dead, it can't stand up. So we're talking about that he redeemed it. And even though he redeemed it, it's in his possession completely. So then why can he go ahead and sell in the marketplace? The whole point is, the reason why he could sell in the marketplace is because Hegdish gains from it. How could Hegdish gain from it if it's in his possession? The answer is, Hegdish gains on the redemption. The price of redemption is much higher if the person, after he redeems it, could sell it wherever he wants, and doesn't only sell it in his own home, like a Bechar. The Mishnah says a Bechar, you can only sell it in your own home. You cannot weigh it with weights because that's a bezayin for the Bechara. And the only person that gains from it is the Kayan that owns it. And the same thing applies, says the Mishnah, for Meiser Behema. You're not allowed to sell it in the marketplace. You're not allowed to sell it with weights. It seems like from our Mishnah that in your own home you're allowed to sell Meiser Behema. The question is, there's a contradiction because in the Bryce it says you're not allowed to sell Meiser Behema in your own home. Comes Rav Sheshes says a beautiful pshat. Our Mishnah is talking about orphans. And orphans, since they can't eat the whole animal, if they won't be able to sell it in the marketplace, then we have halacha v'shavas aveda. You're giving them something that they would have lost. Rav Idi, who was Rav Sheshes' assistant loved this pshat. He heard the pshat from Rav Sheshes. He ran to Beis Medrash and he tried to pass it off as his own pshat. Rav Sheshes heard about it and he was very upset. And he put Rabbi Idi in Cherem. He said, "You try to bite me, let a scorpion come and bite you," meaning he put him in Cherem. Why was he so upset? Because, as the Gemara explains, that when a person says over halacha in somebody else's name, even after that person dies, his lips move in the caver. Like David HaMelech said, he wants to live in both worlds. How's that possible? Because after he was nifter and he's in Olam Haba, his lips, he asked, should move in his caver when people repeat his Torah. The halacha is, you're allowed to buy a lulav on Shemitah because we say that most of its growth happened in the 6th year. But when it comes to an esrog, it goes by the time you cut it off the tree like a vegetable. So if you want to buy a lulav and esrog, what do? Either the guy gives you the esrog as a present, and if he doesn't want to, then you do havla. It's swallowed into the price of the lulav. It's as if you paid a lot of money on a lulav, and you got the esrog within it. Now, that's the afka by esrog, says the Gemara, because esrog in those days was very cheap. So people would say, oh, it makes sense, he paid for a nice dairy lulav a lot of money, he got the esrog for free. But nobody would confuse havla by an animal. To say, and this is the pshat that we have to say in Rav Sheshes. When Rav Sheshes said that Yisoimim, orphans, could sell the meat in their house, from their house, he meant to say bahavla, meaning somebody would come and buy the skin and the horns for a lot of money, and we pretend as if, or the meat is included in the skin. But typically, that's only by Yisoimim, but other people we can't do that according to Rav Sheshes. Why? Because nobody's going to fall for that. It doesn't look. Nobody's going to say, oh, he spent $1,000 on the horns and he got the meat derech agav. That doesn't work. But by esrog it works. Rava says a completely different shot. Rava says that by Yisoimim you don't have to come on to Havlah. You don't have to say that it's swallowed in. Why? Because we have the concept of Shavas Aveda by Yisoimim. We want them to be able to eat the whole thing. Only by a regular person do we say Havlah, and we do say Havlah according to Rava, by an adult. Because Midiraisa, you're allowed to sell the Smeiser Behema after the Shechita. Rabbanan came and said you can't sell after Shechita, Gzera, because of before Shechita. So by Yisoimim we remove that Gzera. And by adults, we didn't. Have a wonderful Shabbos, have a great day.